Well,
Make sure it's on.
hello, are we on? 1, 2, 3, yes. Welcome to our District 4 meeting. It is so good to see you all here. I was reading a book today about the importance of community in terms of not just politics, but economics. And the more engaged a community is in political or community efforts, the stronger that community is economically and socially and on many levels. And so your being involved in your community, coming out on a Thursday night of this meeting, is helping our whole city. So thank you for being here. Before we get started, I do want to introduce our executive board for District 4. First of all, I'm Beth Hedengren, and I'm the chair of the executive board for District 4. And we have representatives from all of our neighborhoods serving on the board. Myself and, of course, Mindy are from Grandview South. And Mel, would you stand up and tell who you are and the neighborhood?
I'm Mel Smith. I was they did, yeah.
Very gratitude. And then Aaron?
I'm Aaron Scab. I'm the secretary.
You are the secretary.
And I'm from the Rivergrove area.
Yes. Thank you. And Eric?
I'm Eric Chase. I'm in the North Park neighborhood.
And he's our vice chair. Let's see, who else is here from the board? Oh, Lynn, of course, yeah.
I'm Lynn Sorensen. I'm from Pleasant View.
Let's see, have we got anybody else here from the board?
We have Brent Hall from Rivergrove. He's on Zoom. And also Michael Roberts from the University neighborhood is on Zoom.
And I'm here, Sarah Acey.
Oh, and Sarah's here, Carterville.
Thank you. I also want to introduce and welcome, we have Marcia, oh gosh. Marcia, stand up, Marcia. Hi, she's our representative on the state legislature. And
That's her own fault because she can't make sense.
Gordon, could you please stand and introduce yourself?
Gordon Tate, I'm Steve Peter, go on. Your dance play.
Thank you for coming, Gordon. He has been so good to work with a number of things he's trying to do here. Finally, let me introduce our city council representatives. We have George Handley representing which district?
District 2.
District 2, and our own Travis William represents District 4. We're so thankful. So we'll get started right off here with some Q&A. What we'll do is, Travis and George, you want to do a little introduction of what you've been doing in the city council first, and then we'll open it up to questions from our group here. When we have a mic right here, Mel will run it over to you. We need to use the mics because of the V1. Okay, so Travis and George, do you want to just introduce your work at the city council?
Sure, I'll just say hello. I'm the son of not all of you. I live in the 3 streets. I've been on the city council for 6 years. It's my second term representing District 2, which a year or so ago got redrawn and now includes all of the, starts sort of on the southern end of Rock Canyon all the way down to Slate Canyon. As of January 1st, that's the new whoever gets elected, well, I will not. I'm elected. I'm already elected to represent that section, not council member. Sort of got drawn out of this portion, so he won't be running. But that got redrawn a year or so ago. But it's been a great privilege to serve on the council. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I love my fellow council members, the staff of the city is phenomenal, and I really thank you.
And then I'm proud to serve in District 4, which is North Park, Rivergrove, Carterville, Grandview to the south, and then Dixon as well. Now, that's as of January 1st because of the new districts. As of right now, I also have a good portion of the west side of the freeway as well. So, kind of trade the west side of Carterville and Dixon. Good trade, I think, I don't know. I usually try to stay neutral on races, but for Travis, you don't have really choice. Yeah, as long as I get one vote, between now and then, I'll be my second term here.
Thank you for your service.
What questions do you have?
I'm Marnay Isaacson, Lens District, Pleasant View. What is the city council doing to be sure that we have some energy or that we're headed that way? I just read something, we're trying to go electric, that's better. Some of the fossil fuels, but then what is fueling the electricity? And I read that in the state of Utah, and I don't know if it's here or not, I'd like to know, 60% of the energy comes from coal.
Yeah, I actually got some good news on that. One of the things that's really exciting about Provo is we have a publicly owned power agency that we are the biggest city that's part of the consortium. So we have quite a bit of influence on, what we want as a city that is paid close attention to by this UNPA, this power agency. Several years ago, we set a goal to have 60% clean and renewable energy by 2030. We jumped up because we built a solar farm, or I should say, UNPA built a solar farm out by Mona. I don't know if you might have noticed it, you can see it from the highway, but it powers 80 megawatts of energy, which I think is the equivalent of about 25%. So that jumped us up to 47%, and our goal is to get to 60 by 2030, and that would be 100% by 2050. There are questions, of course, about base load and how do you get to 100%? If the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining, how are we going to take care of that? And our UNPA director is very creative and aggressive about investigating all kinds of possibilities. But we just passed a resiliency plan for the city that includes those goals for clean energy. So, and you also have the option, which I've done in my home, with Renewed Choice, which is available through UNPA. You can look it up on the Provo Power page, but you can sign up for 100% out of your own home. So what you can do is pay into the grid to help them build more clean and renewable energy. So I pay, I think it's like $12 more for the shares to cover my energy at home. And we've been talking to big community partners, including Brigham Young University, and big businesses, because they have a community sharing program also, so they can buy in to the new solar farm. And when enough of that happens, they can go build it. That solar farm, when it was being built, Facebook wanted to buy the rights to it, and was willing to pay quite a bit of money for it. We ultimately decided not to do that because we wanted it to be for our citizens, but that was a key to the economy has switched so much that UNPA is now aware that there's economic interest in building more, and that could help us make it possible financially very quickly.
Okay.
frustration. Just curious. I mean, this is all well and good, you know, energy. But if you bother to look outside this every day, I mean, with all the people who have been moving in, all the people, all the building. Here's how, I mean, the traffic used to be managed along the BYU students and everything. It's like year long. I mean, there are so many cars, so many buildings going up. How are you going to manage that? Because that there are at least 20 to 25% more cars than there used to be. Because if you even close to these apartment buildings are full, they're using energy too. And is it renewable through them? I mean, and all these cars that we have that are putting out, you know, carbon dioxide, granted they don't put out nearly as much as they used to. And everybody's celebrating, you know, Boomtown and everything, but this is hard hit right here just because of all the things we've done. I mean, we had to change some laws and statutes to get some of these apartment buildings built where they are. So I was wondering why all that? Why do we need to have all the people here? We don't necessarily need all the people here. Let them go live someplace else too, besides Provo. You know? I mean, it's getting, this reminds me of on State Street down on University Avenue. It reminds me of being up in Salt Lake all the time now. That's what it's getting to be. Just like your comment on that.
So would you summarize and just say, what are we doing to handle the growth that's coming from Provo? Is that your question, you think, or?
Well, the question they have, why are we building so many apartment buildings? Why aren't we going to homes and stuff? Don't need that. We've got enough apartment buildings to last for a lifetime in this city. We need to get more single family homes that people can actually afford.
Yeah, there's definitely a challenge. So part of there's definitely a supply and demand issue in regards to housing. And interestingly, I wrote an article just a couple weeks ago that basically said the housing crisis and the significant increase in housing prices, a lot of it has to do with the demand for single family, which isn't being built as much because it's not as profitable for developers. And you know, there's a lot of economics that go into the housing and such. But I think if you look at what the city council has been improving over the last, 4 to 6 years, there's a decent mix. I think there's definitely a demand for medium to higher density. My personal philosophy is that we need to make sure that we're not being so reactive and that we're instead kind of building out Provo in the way that we need to build it out. And so having a good plan for the city, a good general plan, a good transportation master plan, so that we can respond to these demands that are being placed on us from a housing standpoint. I don't think we're really going to solve the macro housing crisis here in Provo single-handedly. A lot of our demand for housing is coming from places like California, the Pacific Northwest, New York, New Jersey, where all these workers are now able to be remote. They're able to leave some of these states that are high taxes and really bad traffic, and so they're able to go to places like Utah, which are awesome, and we have a good economy. We have good values. People want to be in a place like Utah. We have good recreation. There's a lot that's appealing to being in Utah. So the demand is from the outside in, though there is some obviously significant demand. I want my kids to live here if they can, but I don't know if they will be able to, maybe long term. But I don't think we'll be able to solve that insatiable appetite for more housing, for cheaper housing. For example, I feel like we could probably build out every inch of Provo, and there would still be people saying, housing's too expensive, we don't have enough housing. right? And so I don't think there's really an answer to solving the housing crisis. All we can do is try to make good decisions for Provo. And I think that's the right mix of housing, the right amounts of it, and the right places. And so you're gonna have some that's higher density, some that's medium, and some that's lower density. And all we can do is try to do things in the right way and follow a good long-term plan. We also have some limitations. There's infrastructure limitations as far as sewage capacity and things like that. So we've got to be pretty smart here in Provo. So I think what we do as a council is evaluate every development that comes before us that needs to have some sort of zone change or variance or something like that. Not everything comes before the city council, but a lot does. And so we just have to evaluate those on a case by case basis, but try to keep that macro perspective of where we want Provo to be. What do we want Provo to be? I don't think any of us want to try to be, Portland or some other city. We want to be Provo, and so build it out the right way. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if George wants to talk at all about some of the questions around traffic and alternate forms of transportation and what we're doing in those areas.
Maybe I'll stand up so people can see. Yeah, it's a very, very important question. It's really tricky. I would say that a lot of engineering studies and housing studies indicate that different housing types actually create different levels of traffic per person. So actually, it's smarter for a city to densify by public modes of transportation, for example, or near areas where they can walk to commercial services, other services. So we have built apartments in some pretty smart places, or have some coming. We've got a major project right down by Frontrunner, for example, that's going to have quite a bit of housing there. There'll be a walking bridge right over to Frontrunner. There's quite a bit of demand for that kind of easy access. So, single family homes actually generate some plus car trips per day of any housing type. So it's actually also a bit risky to say, well, we're going to just build single family detached homes all over the west side and then have all those people need to come east to get all their services, and then we have even more traffic problems. So we can't solve this without promoting public transportation, mass active transportation, biking and walking. And so we do try to pay attention to that infrastructure as well. We've got a lot of innovative engineers who work for the city who help us with that, and we've made some significant progress in that front. So I think it's important to recognize that that's got to be part of the solution. We simply cannot, no city in America, grow in a sprawling fashion without mass transit or active transportation options and expect not to have massive problems with air quality and traffic. And traffic was the number one thing we did. We did a recent citywide survey about a year ago, and that was the number one issue that people in Provo were concerned about. And we certainly take that to heart. But again, I think part of the solution is actually building and growing in a smart way, which is selectively finding the right places to densify and maybe finding other places where we don't do that. And that's kind of the balance we're trying to do. We do have some difficulty with maybe just getting to the issue of housing types. In order to be affordable, we also have to have housing types at every price point in order to make housing affordable. Actually, Travis, I think the studies I've seen, most of the growth in Utah Valley is local. It's not coming from outside, it's from our own children. So I do think it's important that as parents and grandparents of kids who want to live in Provo, we've got to put our heads together to solve that problem for their sake. And, we've got to help them find ways to get their toehold in the housing market. So we've got to look at all those price points and not just build at one or two. We've got to figure out, and we know we're missing a lot in the middle. We know we're missing condos and townhomes that could be purchased, for example, that could be purchased for under $300,000 perhaps. We're building single family detached homes to the west side of Provo. Unfortunately, we didn't. I think when we were initially asking, what do you think the prices of these homes are going to be? the prices are now 200, 300,000 more than set, so they're not very affordable. So that's, you know, that's something that we have to worry about, and I think the best way to meet that is to be systematically careful about making sure we're balancing the housing types in Provo adequately. So I do think it does look like maybe we're only building apartment buildings, and that's not true. We're building a lot of single family homes in the west side right now, hundreds. So
I'm confused. I drive down Williams. All these massive, large buildings and everything you see, all sorts of houses. They've been here all summer. Using that. And I don't see any great relief for the traffic or anything in their future. You guys have something that's really specific. I mean, you know, yeah, we have UTA, that's it. And it doesn't cover all the areas.
well, I never drive a car in Provo. I always ride an e-bike. I recommend it. I just got back 2 months to Europe, and 80% of the population rides the bike.
That's fine for you, but not all of us.
I
Still riding bikes,
but a lot more of it is good.
We have about 5 more minutes with the, we have about 5 more minutes with the city council, so let's get another question.
About 5 hands. Who had an hand first?
I think so far the city has done a pretty good job with the homeless population. My question to city council is, what are you doing to ensure, you know, we're talking about the future and what our homes are gonna look like in Provo and so forth. What are your future plans? Say, and by the way, I'm asking this for my 86-year-old mother. She called several people who were running for council on that citywide seat and couldn't get really a straight answer. So what are your future plans with the homeless? Because we are growing right now at the rate of 15% every year in the state of Utah with population. I heard that statistic today, 15% every year we add on. And so with that comes more crime, more homeless. And so what are your plans for the homeless in the next 5 to 10 years?
We're kind of trying to craft that plan right now. Usually over the last year, we've been having presentations from a variety of different entities who work with the homeless, either through mental health agencies or domestic violence agencies, talk with the Community Action Network folks, because we want to make sure that we've got a clear picture of what the current needs are and where we need to move to in the future. I think one area that we do has been identified as a problem is that we have emergency housing that's very short term, but we don't have the middle length emergency housing, which is actually very crucial, especially for victims of domestic abuse and other people who just need maybe 30, 60, 90 days to get themselves reoriented and moving in a different direction. And so that's something we would probably have to decide on as a council, you know, how we're going to do that, how we're going to find the funds for it. So I don't know, we're just still in the sort of exploration stage, but it's been very recent. It's in the last 6 to 8 months we've had still sort of gathering our ideas.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. We're figuring out what our resources are, what the challenges. What we're doing.
Hi, I'm Marty Soto. I live in Grandview, and I want to thank you for showing us the way about not letting people go through. I have a cargo bike, an e-bike, and I can bike with my kids, and I'm really excited to have a safe way to do that. And that those of you will support those of us who want to get off the road so you can have a nice clear road. Please support bike infrastructure for me and all the other moms on Grandview who want to ride with our kids and get on your way. So we don't take up as much space as other cars. So I just want to say thanks. And my other question is, how much is bike infrastructure in the mix dealing with the traffic problem and all that?
Well, I think George is probably better suited to answer this, but I'll just say that pretty much every. So for example, on Grandview, recently 1500 West on the south side was resurfaced and repainted and pretty much every road that's being resurfaced nowadays, they're making sure that it's striped and that there's if not a full bike lane, typically it is a bike lane, it is, demarcated as a bike lane. If not, that there's, soccer, shoulders that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Side of the road. No, just, there's space that's lined and striped so that people, can ride bikes there. And so I just know that it's top of mind for the administration, anytime they're doing something like that they're considering where to put bike lanes and things like that. So, but George, who is our bike guru, I do have an e-bike myself. It's a big bucket bike that I put 4 kids in. It's awesome. But George is probably more of a guru on biking side. I don't know if you had anything. Yeah, man, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have currently, if your question is, do we have a fixed percentage of our budget that goes to bike infrastructure? No. I would be very interested in exploring that. As you just so well put it, I hope drivers understand this is not a zero-sum game. It's not like a penny spent on bike infrastructure hurts cars or hurts traffic. This is a win-win, because as you so well put it, anytime someone is moving from a vehicle that is enormous chunk of metal that costs tens of thousands of dollars out of a family income, and moves to a bike, that's a win for the city. So even if it's not for you, it is something that we want to encourage a higher percentage of our citizens to do. We just, like I say, it's unimaginable. The future is unimaginable without that being a significant part of how we move ourselves around in the city. So it's helpful for the whole community. It helps air quality. It helps the traffic. It actually promotes a tremendous amount of health and a sense of community, because we talk to people a little more slowly, we have a little more connection. So I would love to find the ways to I know in the state of Oregon they passed a law, the state legislature. Mark is already on. Where did she go? You can pass this along to her. The state legislature in Oregon passed a law that required 1% of road budget to be spent on biking infrastructure, and turned Portland into the #1 biking city in the country. So that's something we could look towards state leadership for.
I live on 1500 West. I lived there for 42 years. And I'm wondering if we can get a real honest and firm answer as to what you're going to do with the north end of 1500 West, because none of the people in the neighborhood want that road connected to 2000 South. And we petitioned the city back in 2017 to get it taken off of the master plan. So I'm just concerned that we get a real firm, honest answer from you guys as to what's going to happen there.
So I can answer that real quickly, and then if we need to go into more detail, the firm answer is that the road will end in a turnaround. So there's a vacant lot at the end of 1500 West. There will be 2 homes built there. One will be south facing and one will be west facing. And there will be a road with a turnaround there at the end. So it won't connect. There will be an 8-foot sidewalk type of scenario where so pedestrian and bike traffic can continue on to 2000, but it won't connect through for vehicles. As far as the plan, so it was taken off the city's master plan. And there is another plan to look at, the 50-year plan with Mountain Land Association of Governments is on there. So that'll be something you know, maybe when all of us are dead, I don't know that they look to connect that road, but we'll want to keep an eye on that as, you know, in the future here, but there's some conflict there between the city plan and the MAG plan, so we need to probably resolve that. But as of right now, that's it. That is the plan. 2 homes and a turnaround. And if we need to go into more detail, we can, but that's the resolution.
Or the homes going on, what?
Oh, yeah, thank you, George. And the mayor is, we probably should announce this yesterday, but the mayor is hosting a Grandview Town Hall on Monday, the 11th at 5:30 at Western Dome. If you want to ask any more questions, or you can reach out to me too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. We could go on and on.
I think we could.
Thank you.
You know, for more questions, you know where to find us, right? Yeah, I'm safe.
Welcome. I'm glad Vicki you brought up 1500 West. That has been the huge thing we've been working on primarily this last few weeks. Could you put my thing? Well, I'm going to change our schedule a little bit here and go directly to the reports, because some of the things you may want to talk about in public comment, I think we'll take care of in the reports. And then we can do public comment after that. Okay?
So did you want to do that before Gordon's presentation?
Oh, I want to work with Gordon on this. So put up my thing.
Okay.
And when we get to the slide that has Gordon involved, we'll have Gordon connect. Okay? So, just want to let you know, your executive board works really hard for you. And you bring up something, last meeting we went to, Barbie brought up 1500 West. And that's what we spent a lot of time with this last section, few weeks between that last meeting. So next, we did do the Hillside Fire Mitigation Project, which was huge success. It was so great. Everybody turned out. Next slide. I see some fun pictures of everybody. There's Mel with his ladder. He saved the day by thinking of having ladders go over the fence because we couldn't get the fence down and couldn't figure out how we get up there. Next. And there was 172 volunteers, 372 and a half service hours, and everybody helped. The fire marshal, deputy fire marshal, said it was the best fire mitigation project she's ever worked with. Aren't you so proud? And then our executive board worked really hard. Rachel came and helped us. I should have introduced Rachel. Rachel's our city liaison. She's a city employee and she's our dear mother. So she keeps us straight. Marvelous Catering donated breakfast for all those people. So support them. They were great. Next. And we're still collecting service hours for our matching grant. We're getting real close to having it. We're going to talk more about the matching grant.
I have a question about the yard or the project you want.
Oh, yeah.
Is that publicly owned property that, is the project, because I've done it before, is that privately owned or publicly owned?
Some of each. Right along the fence, and it varies from lot to lot, how far down the hill the private property goes. And we worked with the plat maps to know, but much of it is privately owned, and so the city can't take responsibility for going in there to do that. So that's why we worked with the homeowners and we worked with volunteers to get it done. The homeowners, it's just a daunting prospect to do on Saturday morning. The homeowner could not. We needed 170 to do it. So it was a good project. Now,
Well, and the fire marshal got it and say, yeah, we got about 25%.
yeah, even at that.
So this should be an ongoing project that we work on.
And it is a fire hazard. But it's a lot better now. Yes,
In 100 years, recently, I don't think it's ever.
yeah, true.
Yeah, once before, a few years ago, we were doing that one, before that, that hillside.
Yeah,
Decades.
we found fences and bedposts and everything. Okay, so are we okay on the project? Yeah, yes, you did a great job. Okay, next, I want to get to Gordon. So, we've been working on the intersection of Carterville and 1750, and we got the do not block sign. Gordon, do you want to come up and just share the space with me? Where's that other mic?
Yeah.
Here. And tell us about what you've been doing on Carterville and 1750.
All right, thank you. Your community has been very active.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Push the button up.
There's a little button.
Yeah.
It'll take
Put it right up. Okay.
There we go.
Thank you. I'll learn how to work this. So your community leadership has been very involved in this intersection. This is an important intersection because last year the city council adopted a safety action plan where we went through and looked at all the locations of the city where we have the most fatalities or severe injury accidents. This is one of those locations. And so in meeting with your community council, we went out to the site, walked it, they showed us the concerns they had, we went back and reviewed it, and we came up with a number of ideas on how to make this a little bit safer. And so one of the things we did is we put in a right turn lane coming.
And I didn't get that in a picture. I was looking at the do not block.
Then we won't bring it up. It's not. No, it's not. We put some signs, we moved some signs, made it visible. Of course, we put the do not block in the middle of the intersection. The goal is to look and see how this works for about a year. There are more extreme measures we can take. Our intent is to do this major. And let's watch how it goes. Initially, we're starting to get a lot of good feedback. We're going to traffic counters out there. We're going to watch the speed. We're going to monitor accidents. We're going to see what is happening. As a result of doing this, we've got additional comments of things we're going to do. There's a bus stop that we think we can work with UTA and move it a little further away. There's a few other small things that we think can help improve the safety. And so I don't necessarily want to go into all the engineering, but your community's been really active. We go through the details of what we've done, and I think it's going to make a big difference.
I drive that route frequently, and I think this,
Everything was peachy keen until today.
Oh.
And we had two cars right in the middle of the do not block, and we were trying to turn on Carterville. So I thought of something today that maybe is already on your drawing board. Could you possibly put some sort of a blinking light coming from the four-way over to State that says, do not block, really bright?
Make the sign a little more visible.
It's just, yeah, it's the students. I honestly, I mean, I could tell in those cars, they were young people. And but all summer, ever since you've done those changes, it's been great. But now that the students are back, they need a do not block neon sign.
I'd be like painted that sort of red in the schools and crossroads. I think that seriously, you can't read it very well, and the people always walking are coming from like Grandview. So if that were red, something that's out of normal and out of that. Yeah, it's just really difficult to read, but other than that, I think it's much better.
One more.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. You can't read it. I mean, we knew it was there, but coming up the hill there, from Cranberry and just that area, we didn't see the words at all. They can't be read.
On the street?
On the street, they cannot be read. It was
Until
like
you're over.
You're right there. So we'll take a look now. The national standard gives us block size of what's supposed to be readable. I'm not saying that always right, but we use some standards that are national standards of how to do this. So we'll take a look at it and see if something can be done to go forward in the future.
I think it was the lighting, the sun.
The sun kind of cleared out.
We were just there.
Maybe if you had more cloud cover. Maybe it's coming for beauty, but.
So anybody have a question?
We'll work on this.
Gordon, thank you so much. So next, I just want to point out a little shout out to Barbie back here. I'm going to call you up in a minute too, because we'll get 1,500 West. So don't get you. But a quick shout out to Barbie. She and her biking friends went to the end of 1,500 West, which is really overgrown. There is like a little farm road there that it goes through, and the bike people will go through there, but it was really overgrown. First time I went, I was fearing for my life as I went through there. But the Barbie and her friends went in there and just cleaned it up, and it looks really great. And what a great example of citizens seeing a need and doing it. So thanks very much.
I have a question. Is that one thing, is that the vacant lot that they're gonna do?
Yeah.
Okay, there used to be barbed wire there, all the way across. So.
Not those two flats belong to the city, so it's not that bad. So right of that phone fish is the space that is the private property. Oh. Yeah, so those two flats on the left and right with that little sign in the middle there, those belong to the city. So that's city property, and then on the right ish of that code, I don't know exactly where the line is, that's the private property to the right.
Okay.
Where the two houses were built, so we did not go on private property, we didn't go cut down other people's stuff.
Right. Thank you, Barbie. All right, so next slide. Now, let's talk about this 1,500 extension. And we also are thankful to Barbie for sort of bringing it to our attention. We didn't know that the plan was for the street to go through. And the neighborhood, when we found out about it, it was a great concern to everybody. Well, there are a few. But most everybody did not want that increased traffic. You can see this is a park down here. There's the elementary school over here. This street here is already way too busy, and making this go through here, we have two intersecting really busy streets, and we were very concerned about it. So we went to Gordon, and Travis went to the city, and Travis really worked hard for us. And Gordon, do you want to come up and talk? Gordon and Travis, do you want to come up and talk about what happened here?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'll bring up your slides.
So, yes, a shout out to your community leadership and Travis, the council member. Both they all came together to really rally around what the residents' concerns were on this project. So let me just kind of go through some of the details and what's going to happen. I think at the end of the day, I think the community generally pretty pleased with what the final solution of this is. All right, let's go to the first slide. So this just shows you the area, just so everybody understands the location. The property that's developing is about 1.5 acres just to the east of that road. So that's privately owned. The city owns the right of way. So let's go to the next slide. So what's underlying is the plan that's were approved. That was what was going forward. What's in red is what's going to happen. Let me describe that a little bit. So what's happening now is we are taking this road and we're narrowing it down a little bit. And so on this side, we're going to have an 8-foot sidewalk and a 9-foot park strip. Typically, we see a 6-foot sidewalk and a 7-foot park strip. So this will be a little bit wider. This property owner here has agreed to do the maintenance on the, it's going to be tied to his water, his maintenance. the way this is going to be, see the red rectangle out here, they're gonna do a hammerhead design that we have approved with the fire department, so that typically the problem, I don't want to get into too much engineering, but the cul-de-sac is very expensive to do. If you go to the next slide, I'll just show you a little bit so you can get really see it. So if you see the road, it comes up about 7-8 feet. And so if we did a cul-de-sac out to that, which would have to be level with the road, you'd be putting big retaining walls or big fills onto the property. So if you go back to the other slide, so if we did a big cul-de-sac, it'd only be on one side. We already have development, there's a house over here, so we're not taking any property on this side. Everything would have to be on the development side. And so it would have been a pretty heavy taking to make it end up to be a cul-de-sac. So what we're doing here is the curb's gonna come up beyond the reason you're seeing these red drawings is we just had a meeting last week with the developer, and it's likely gonna take a few weeks for the engineering to come back. So I'm just giving you a concept. So nothing you're seeing here is the final design, but it's close to what you're gonna see. So the curb and gutter is gonna come around. We'll do drainage, so it all flows this way. And then you'll see the sidewalk. This will be a standard 6-foot sidewalk with a standard 7-foot park strip. That will come up and loop and tie to across to the west side. The west side will go all the way up into Sandy. So go straight up into the
Straight up into
yeah. So
Orem.
you can see, yeah, Orem.
It's like the sidewalk.
We're gonna have the sidewalk disconnect. Now, their sidewalk doesn't go everywhere, but we're gonna have our piece, so whenever they do their piece, it will be finished. So that will be the final design. What they're doing is they have a house here and a house here. Those are the two lots. Somebody was asking about what was going to happen. Go to the other line, or the other. So we have a lot of utilities in that road, so that's important to keep it right away. So we have sewer lines, irrigation, and stormwater and other kinds. Any questions?
Well, I have a question. So go back to the other slide. So what are the marked red marks there? Are those
are the changes you're going to see to that. So the design you see is a design that was approved that they brought to us. What we're saying is we've gone back and told them to redo the design to make the changes I'm showing in red.
that just shows a change?
Yes.
Okay, I walk there quite a bit, and what are you gonna do about the canals? Are you gonna just pave over and let the canals that are underground?
So we're only gonna put a pipe underneath that sidewalk. We're not gonna pipe any rest of it. So where it ties into Orem, we're just gonna have a piece of pipe right there. The rest of the pipe, the rest of the channel will be open ditch. Now, eventually, I understand that there's a desire to run it down, but that is a future decision. Orem's gonna be involved, irrigation companies, Provo, but today, when this project is done, that ditch will be open channel except where the sidewalk.
Or, okay, that's what I want.
Laundry miner that live down the street, don't know where I live exactly, take your tape and measure 270 feet from the pump operation to get my house. But what we're wondering about, first of all, thank you very much to the city for conceding to our overwhelming opposition. That doesn't happen very often. But my question goes back to, we felt when Travis came around, and thank you very much for going house to house, that this was being leaked to us. That a secret had been somehow discovered, revealed. Who actually asked for this to happen? The connection to 2000. Let's go back to the very beginning.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. So I'm gonna go back to two beginnings. Once, let me just explain this question more than anybody else's. So, and this is probably the most important discussion you can have. So in 1970, the city received its right of way for 1500. That's when the city got right of way to start building the road. Again, in 2004, this development came in around it, not this, but these other properties. When these came in, the city got the rest of the right-of-way development dedicated to it, plus cash to build the road. So back in 2004, the city's policy was get the right-of-way, build the road, we got money, we got the land. And so back then, the intent was to get the rest of the cash from these guys to build the whole road. That seemed like the direction the city had made for by accepting money and accepting the land. In 2020, the city did a study with this road and was looking at it. And the study indicated kind of the traffic volumes would go here. And it ended up that go to the first map. So if you look, there's 4 accesses into this neighborhood. These points would all have less traffic, or this would increase traffic. And so that was kind of the indication of the study. Now I'm going to go to a year and a half from that. I got hired by the city, and I need that history. So I came in and started researching history. And so my job is to approve developments, not the zoning, that's all done through planning, but the road access. And so looking at this and kind of reading our transportation master plan, and it has comments in there that we want a grid system, that we'd like to have things connected multiple ways. You know, it seemed logical that was the process to go. So one thing that your council member pointed out to me is that where in the process did he find out what was going on in his district? That was the question I people asking. And where do the people find out? So right now, the way that the city is set up is when we do a zone change, properties and state law and statute, a property owner now is entitled to do something. They really don't have any entitlement until the zone takes place. And the zoning took place in 2023. There was a public hearing, went through the planning commission, went through the city council, and I wasn't here to listen to it. I don't believe you were here. Nobody was here to hear that story. So that happened at that point. And so now at this point, a lot of the approval process for this kind of subdivision is all administrative. It's done at staff level. The developer comes in, if they meet all the code, then they get to build their subdivision. So I don't want to explain the whole process. The process with this developer has taken about a year and 3 or 4 months since the first application. There was an attempt initially by the city to buy the property, so it would never be developed. There was an attempt by Orem to buy the property, so the project was slow for a number of reasons. They came in with different ideas and plans. We came back and said, no, you got to do these things. So it went back and forth for a while until finally we agreed to a plan that met all the city requirements. So the issue is, there is a process, I believe, and I've been reviewing this right now in the city. When we get a new application, this application came in a year ago, I believe there's a notice that goes to the council that says you got an application for something. That's all it says. It's kind of cryptic, and I don't believe we know what the end product's going to be or what's going to happen. So I believe there's a communication element that isn't intended to be that way, but it's there. And I would tell you that there are a ton of developments going in on the city all over. And so I believe the system works generally 90% of the time. And it helps, even though this, we're seeing projects take a year, government's very bureaucratic, developers will tell you, man, why is it so hard to get through the process? And so I think we scrutinize it fairly significant, both the utilities, the land use, the transportation, all the elements that go into it. So one of the things we've talked about and is how do we get intermediate information to the council so that they know what's going on. And so there has been, I'll bet, 8 different plans that were submitted for this project that didn't meet code, that were rejected. Now, the first plan that came in, they wanted to do just the driveway. Just make it say, we want to have a driveway on the city property. And the reason they wanted to do that, because the second lot, if you go back to the first one, or this next one, sorry, is this is public right of way. We cannot give you your own driveway on public right of way for an exclusive use because it's owned by the public. So they would have to take a piece off of this lot. Well, then this lot is out of conformance, out of zone. So the first thing they did was want to do that. So staff said, you can't do that, it's new code. So we came back and said, you can do a cul-de-sac. And that would be fine with us. Because again, we don't see this road as taking, this is just a local road. We don't see this as regional or citywide or collective of any sort to us. However, like I said, when you went to the other drawing, their impact was very severe. It's a lot more expensive. That was something they did not want to do. So we went back and forth on a number of drawings. And so we ended up saying it's cheaper just to punch through. We worked with Orem, we had the money, we had the right of way. So those are the steps that went through. But again, I don't know that every one of those drawings should go to the council because they'll reject it. But you don't want to wait the last minute to get to the council either. So there's probably some intermediate steps. Because if you just flood them with all the drawings that we get from this, it can be overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff that's going on in the city. So what we need to do is come up with a little bit of a better process that we believe the council has a better sense of things in the neighborhood than maybe staff does. So some way to feed that to the council so they're able to see that. And if they see a red flag come up, they can certainly call us, talk to us, and maybe see if we need a neighborhood meeting. The problem with doing this on every project is sometimes a project will come in and the neighborhood will, and not this project, will say, I don't like how this house is going, so I'm blocking my view. And you invite the public comment, but you're not going to use any of it. And that I find is the most disingenuous, is to say, come and give me your comments, but I'm not going to listen. That we don't want to do. Now, you certainly can change the ordinance that everything's scrutinized later on, but the issue is in state statute, at rezone, developers are entitled. And so you can't take away that entitlement if they need your code. So it's difficult. So anyway, that's the balance we're working. I don't want to go into all the technical aspect. So that were the steps that we went through. So I do think there needs to be some correction in the city. I think it needs to be staffed in a way that communicates a little bit better, both to the mayor and to the city council, so they're hearing these kind of things, so we don't have these kinds of experiences.
Big question to Travis. Where did you find out?
I found out from your neighborhood district leadership. Beth and Aaron and Barbie and Mel and
How did they find out?
but I just want to say that I think what's important is that the city did respond, which is the big key, and I'm really grateful for their response. And Gordon and I talked, and like he said, we're going to figure out how to make sure that, I don't need to know everything going on there, right? But he's going to try to help ensure that we're informed of what's going on in our neighborhood. I think that's great. I mean, that's all we can really ask for, right? Is, Gordon got thrown into a situation where things were already in the works, when he was hired, and he didn't know the context around it and didn't understand the implications or even how the neighborhood might feel. And he just was kind of, moving the project forward like he's supposed to do. So I don't think we want to, fault the city too much in as far as how we got here. What I'm more concerned about is that we got to a good resolution, win-win-win, you might say, right? Everybody's pretty happy and moving forward, I think it's going to be better. So from my perspective, I think we're in a really good spot. And really appreciate what Gordon and his team and the mayor have done. So the mayor really stepped up, kind of rallied all the troops and helped kind of put this plan together with Gordon and his team and the developers. So I think it was a really good response, and you guys were all awesome as far as just letting the city know that it was important to you. But again, I think that's what's really important, is that they did respond when we shared our thoughts. So I don't want to keep grilling Gordon. He did a great job.
I do with the question. My name is Dan Slaw. And I live two doors away from 15 West across the direction. Over 3 years ago, we had a terrible storm during the BYU Texas game. And, there was massive flooding in that block directly across the street to the north. No, right there, and it, either the piping was not connected, but all the water came down there, and I heard you say that this is now going to be an open ditch on the other side of the 8-foot park strip, or the 8-foot sidewalk. What is the city doing to be able to prevent my neighbors? And I guess they collected all the water that could have come across the street into my home, but it ended up going into their walkout basement and caused significant damage. So that is a Benson home and a Hughes home just to the north. So I'm just wondering how will that water, that storm water, be funneled out of that area? Is there a connection somewhere on 1970 north right there that collect some of that water?
So I know some of how that's going to work. You bring up a really technical question. So that ditch is physically in the city of Orem, and it receives some of Orem's stormwater. And they have a detention basin right there. Right. And I believe they plan to improve that area because I believe it's not fully adequate at this time. So what we are going to do, we have worked out an agreement with, if you go to the other slide, I don't know, we show all that. But we have a storm drain putting in here that we eventually believe is going to connect, and we're going to bring Orem stormwater down through Provo, and it all ends up being collected. We can't, we don't see the difference in Orem Provo, so I didn't want to start that issue, but we do know there's an issue, and we agreed to work with them. There's an issue, but this is going to take some time for that. So I'm giving you an answer. We know the issues exist, but we're not, the solution is still a little ways away.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah.
So part of the problem, because I used to do flood irrigation along the West Union Canal Company. So part of the problem is coming off of that Orem ditch, it was a irrigation canal. And it was open on that little section, and it got always blocked up with trees and branches and all kinds of stuff. And that was what caused the flooding. So what are you going to cover that now, or what's happening?
So the only place we're going to cover it is we're going to leave the ditch open, except for an 8-foot section that we're going to put a pipe into the ditch, just so we get a sidewalk over Orem. That's the only place we're putting a pipe on this project. In the future, and I don't want to speak for Orem, but I had heard they have some planned improvements for that ditch and also for that detention basin. I have not studied the shoreline master plan. I do not know it well enough to speak about it all intelligently, but we've had discussions of them bringing their stormwater down this road in a Provo City pipe. So I do know that's part of the solution. I'm more aware of what we're going to do. I'm not so sure what they're doing on their side. I believe they're being responsible and they're going to do a good job, but I don't have the answers.
Or are you saying that in the future, that ditch will be covered in the future? I think that's the question.
Yeah, so Orem could be doing that. I know they're planning some improvements. And when I say improvements, that sometimes implies piping in. I just don't want to speak.
But I'm speaking about the ditch right on the Provo side, which is down from 2007. It's open, right?
Oh, yeah, that's all going to be covered.
That will be covered up.
Yeah, we're going to put a pipe in there. On the Provo side,
That was my question. That one coming north-south will be covered with piping that's connected and not just haphazard like it is right now, that allowed that flooding to go.
So it's more complicated than that. I can probably answer some questions. If you really want to know about the hydrology, what's going to happen, because we're putting in a pipe in that road because it's a Provo City road. We don't want it torquing. I'm telling you, if you want to look bad as a city official, build a new road, cut it open, and put a storm drain. So, because this is part of Orem's project, they have to come up with some of the funds. Until there's an agreement that they're bringing some of the funds to the table, it doesn't go all the way. So when I tell you there's a pipe in here, it may not be going anywhere. It's just for me not to let my road get tore up. And then I'm going to make them buy the pipe to finish it and going further. So I'm just telling you, I don't want to tear up a road. So it has very little to do.
I think there's lots of questions, but I think we have to. Timely manner. I do want both of you come up here for a minute. These two have worked tirelessly. I've got it. They've worked tirelessly for our community in getting this result. And those of you who are not in Grandview neighborhood, I want you to know that if you have a problem, they will work tirelessly for you too. Just let us know. I've already given Gordon his prize because I didn't know he was going to come. Travis, I just
Well,
want
thank
you
you.
to know we really appreciate it. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, now we want to get you out of here by 8 o'clock. So just let's go quick back to my slides.
Oh, okay.
And we'll just finish those up because I want to give a plug to the mayor. It's not a cul-de-sac. Okay. We've had a great discussion here tonight, but Mayor Kafusi is doing a special town hall Monday, September 11th. She's my daughter's birthday, as well as a day of mourning. But a wonderful day in our family, at 5:30 at Westridge. And she'll talk about 500 West and the Rotary Park parking lot and the Rotary Park on street parking and the Rotary Park well and all of that stuff. So please come. We get to have 2 civic meetings in a week. And that will be great. And Mayor Kafusi really deserves a package of candy too. She worked really hard to make this all come together and make it happen. Okay, let's move on now. On our agenda, we have a couple of other items that we don't have a lot to say about, but Rachel has done some research on it. The noise levels at the stadium and the parking lot. You have that too.
Okay, as far as the noise levels at LaVell Edwards Stadium, I've gone to the police department, I've gone to zoning, I've gone to the mayor's office. Pretty much what they've told me is they have an exemption to the noise ordinance and there's really not anything we can do. I know, Lynn, you've been working on it, and so I'm hoping you can get some more information, maybe for a later meeting. But
Is there a record of an exemption petition?
That's what I don't.
They can do that.
That's what they've all told me. But I didn't see a document or anything.
Exemption.
Right. And so we can ask them for that. But I just know the police said they wouldn't enforce, like you can call and complain, but the police wouldn't go and tell the crowd to be quiet at a football game. Like that's not gonna happen.
It's not the crowd.
What is it?
First of all, they have a sound system that booms this horrendous rock music, and between every play. And turn that music on as soon as the play is over, and it goes until the next play starts. I think the city should measure the noise level. I don't care if there's been an exemption. An exemption is just a sweetheart deal for BYU football that the city is going along with. And I think it's wrong that the neighbors should be subjected
to a noise level that's possibly beyond the city ordinance for noise. To say it's an
Right.
exemption doesn't satisfy.
Right, and so Lynn, do you have appointments where you're trying to meet with people? Have you been able to meet with anyone?
Is our BYU representative still on Zoom?
Yes, Mike Roberts?
Yes, Mike, said that we should, talk with Dixon Holmes, whom I emailed and I CC'd everyone on the board. I've not heard from Dixon. I'm not sure why it would be Dixon. It doesn't seem like that's in his purview, but then I don't know exactly how the city runs. So, there is evidently a, study that was done at, the Stadium of Fire. We'd like to see the results of that and compare that to what the city ordinance is. If there has been an exemption applied for, we'd like to talk about that. So, we're kind of out here in the fog. And meanwhile, after next Saturday, a third of the football games will be over. I mean, we really need to move along with this because as Dr. Isaacson points out, you know, that is really high level of noise with that rock music, amongst other things. So I think we just don't have the information that we need. So Bev, Mel and I are willing to meet with Dixon if that's the right person to meet with. I don't know if it's zoning or exactly what it is, but there are noise levels that can be measured and there are noise level ordinances within the city ordinances. So we need to find out about this.
Well, I can submit, Paul, have you ever submitted a grammar request for the noise ordinance for the stadium? I'm just curious.
Can I make noise? No, there is no agreement that's ever been
okay.
signed or permitted. And so we're in, you know, if anybody says it's an agreement, it's not in writing anywhere. And the noise ordinance is violated. And as Lynn pointed out, it's not crowd noise, it's the new sound system that was put in 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Straight to the window.
I'm in the Pleasant View neighborhood, and I just like to add my 2 cents. It's my favorite part of living. So, you know, I think it's great to go through the mechanics, and let's get the information we get from the city, let's get something in writing. But I also think that there are large swaths of the Pleasant View neighborhood that love the fact that their windows shake every time something happens in the stadium. So, just want to be the other side of this conversation.
My name is Michelle and I've lived there for about 12 years. I lived there before that screen and sound system. I lived there since, obviously. And I see what you're saying. I have little kids who every time I say the stadium, I have one son who goes, how dare you say anything rude about the stadium? But I will say that all of us who live there are very clear that there was a stadium there, what that entails, and when there's football games. But my huge issue is what happens in between these games and the big events. I have that screen on for 24-hour spurts. It looks like an alien is landing in my living room. I have a house that's 2 houses away from me that we just went up for sale. And 3 of my friends looked at that house and said there was absolutely no way they would live in the house with that much light pollution going. So I think, yes, the games are fun, but the in-between nonsense that happens is really destructive and disturbing. And I feel like, I don't know if anyone else realizes how much that's upsetting us.
Yeah, I also live in the Pleasant View neighborhood, and again, we understand the football games, but I've reported just in the last year 18 different events that have noise over 70 decibels in charge. Games and that part of that. So it's not necessarily just the football. It's the 100 years to celebrate in the county club or private movies for private owners. in the stadium and also has an institution.
We have a light and.
Representing BYU. I'm just like all of you. I moved here from Hawaii in 1982. My kids went to Joaquin Elementary School, then junior high, Provo and Grandview. So we call this our home. We love Provo. We bought a home in Orem for 21 years. Then we came back to Provo. We love. I coached football here in Provo 83, 84, 85, 86, 87 for free. I love Provo. And I understand the concern with the noise. I agree. There's noise. All of us in this room, we are here for the same purpose. We all love Provo. We want to live here, we want to enjoy life. My wife and I went on a vacation on June 19th, came back August 4th. We went to New Zealand, around the island of Tahiti. When we came back, it was an amazing vacation. I told my wife, Provo is here the best. So I agree with all of you. We love Provo. I have campaigned for a lot of mayors, governors before, even Mayor now Kafusi. I was going to run for the city, and when she ran, I told her, I'm not running, I'm campaigning with you. We pick up signs all over Provo. When she ran again, I will support her again. So what am I telling you? We all love Provo. We love football, we love our kids, we love the streets. I wish I could be more like you. I wish this room could be filled with thousands of Provo residents. We need this type of meeting. We need it. Okay, as I said earlier, I have made an observation in my camp. If you don't understand, raise your hand and I'll give you all. I agree there is noise everywhere. I agree there are traffic. I agree it is part of our kids and grandkids playing there. Some of our nieces, nephews, some of our relatives are supporting. I agree there are millions of dollars coming to the city. There'll be more with the big law coming in. But what I'm saying is, this is a family. I love my family. I can count all of you as my whole family too. In my family, when we see something like this, we talk about it. We fix it, then we forgive each other and move on. I heard it earlier. There's no perfect family, including my own. I know some of you have a perfect family. The perfect husband, a wife knows. I try every day to be better than yesterday. I think it is great to address the concern. I know also there is a lot of funds coming in to help the city. I also know of the sound that they play when the changes go on. I have no idea of what is going on. I'm a member of the Joanna Club. Let me tell you more. I've been a member of the Joanna Club for so long, so many years. We're one of the biggest members in the whole world. We donate money to help all the schools. I'm also a member of the Provo City Board of Directors for Park and Recreation. We have built a park of us right at the airport. We're helping our mayor. I've been in mental health 29 years. I'm also helping with dialysis center building in Asia, in the Pacific, and 2 in Salt Lake. All of those I'm not getting paid. Why? I love Provo, I love Utah. I was running for the city council in Idaho. I came in late and I just put in my name. I went and knocked on 8,000 homes. If they vote for me, my name won't be there, the right in. Came up with 300 votes. And I know it won't be possible. I didn't complain, I said, love Provo. I believe, ladies and gentlemen, I believe in being kind. I'm starting by being kind to my wife, my kids, my grandkids. I know we can be kind, we can disagree. That's part of life. We can disagree in a way of respect.
I'm also. I'm gonna take that here. I am Elvis Scotland. I'm a full-time missionary. Service missionary with 49 missionaries in 22 states in Provo. Those will help you in football. So also in the mental health board of directors for free. So what I'm saying is, I agree with all the concerns. I wish I can see thousands of people who should take pictures to solve problem. Let's come in and help. But then with the father, waiting coming in, I have a great respect for all of you for waiting to see you. And these are here. When these are here, I hope you happy when I die the day before. I'm only 74, then hopefully when I'm 94 like that. But that's all I'm saying. Please, let's see what we can have to help the concert. At the same time, let's support our city, see what we can do, bring, and then invite all your friends. I heard this meeting from governor of Kiwanis Club in our meeting yesterday. There was our public support. I agree with most of what's going on, and I'm saying, Tom Chitake, I'm here just like you, supporting what we can do to improve Provo. Let's go, Provo.
Thank you, thank you.
Sorry for talking too long.
So, we're running up against our ending time here. We recognize there's a problem, and we're going to go on looking into the noise problem with the city. Thank you, Brother Sataki, for your comments. We're going to work on it. Do you want to say something quickly about the parking lot?
Yeah, just really quick, and they'll talk about this more at the mayor's meeting, but the latest update that I got today is that one down at the bottom. The asphalt is scheduled for Monday, but there's a chance it could be poured tomorrow. So they're trying, they apologize, the weather has been a factor, trying to get materials has been a factor. This is for the parking lot at Rotary Park.
Street department is talking today, since I've talked to this every day, they're doing the asphalt tomorrow.
Oh,
They
nice.
finished the whole thing today in one day. Asphalt is tomorrow.
Oh, so that's the end. So the asphalt's the last step.
Painted next week.
Painted. Yeah, awesome, awesome, okay. We need public comment. 5 minutes, quick. What public comments do we have? And then, Lynn's a teacher, would you write down what they say on the board?
So we limit it
A minute.
a minute. 1 minute.
Sure, I'll be quick. I told Travis I was gonna talk about this earlier, so maybe we'll talk more later, but we had a meeting, this meeting a couple of months ago, we talked about the new plans. The church is going through the rest of the process of the city. The plans they submitted to the design review committee, included some more specific numbers. So right now, the Provo Temple has in both their lots about 620 parking spaces. The plans they submitted to the design review committee have 1,490 parking spaces on the site. So they have to they're adding about 900 additional parking spaces to the temple. And my understanding is this is because it's being required by the city, because the city ties our parking requirements to square footage of buildings of different types. So every different type of business has a different square foot. And it's just way more parking than the temple needs. I'm concerned because it doesn't just affect the temple and the church, because they can afford to build a bigger parking lot if they really want to. But I'm worried we're pushing out other businesses and people that could come and establish themselves in our city because our parking requirements are way too egregious. That's why we end up with giant parking lots around churches. It's why the mall has a huge parking lot all around it, bigger than we need. So I would hope that the city and the city council will not just give the temple an exemption so they don't have to waste so much space on a giant parking lot, but also consider getting rid of those kinds of square foot parking space requirements all over the city and let the people and the business owners and the property owners decide for themselves how much parking they need.
Okay, thank you. Pass the mic back here to.
Paul Evans in the Pleasant View neighborhood. With the onset of BYU beginning this fall, it is clear that there are a number of homes that have been purchased in the last year in which the owners have turned the homes into student matching single duplexes. And so the city can please take action on those complaints that have been registered so that those issues can be resolved. The owners have taken a number of different wandering mechanisms of listing ownership for the home, but they all in the end come under a bogus real estate transaction that the city says.
Okay. And have you submitted those into the city? Thank you.
Last spring, when I was here at the meeting, Susan Anderson, Carterville, whoever it was, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but we had a whole bunch of people from the city here, and everyone was really concerned about the flooding. But the gentleman that I talked to from the city after the meeting said that as soon as the flooding was over, he would see what he could do about all those trees that overhang Carterville Road that had dead wood up in them. And nothing's been done, to my knowledge. And so I was really hoping that the committee could look into that again and see what's going to happen, because he said, "Oh, we're just too concerned about flooding right now."
Yeah,
now it's the fall, so I'm hoping.
Right, yeah, because I had it in my notes to wait till the fall. I don't think it's technically the fall yet, right? So I actually have that scheduled for our next meeting to discuss that, but that would be a good service project. That might be good for our next meeting to bring in BYU YServe. They have a community cleanup group where we can get BYU students to help us. I do have that scheduled for our next meeting in October, but we can maybe get something going before then, if you feel like.
Some of the trees fall on the city right away, and some of the trees are on individual landowners' property. And so whoever it is that organizes that is gonna have, I guess, a really good map that shows which trees we can actually work on and which trees we don't dare work on without the property owner's permission.
Right. We always are in partnership with the city, and then the board does a great job contacting the private property owners.
Any other comments?
Oh, we did it. Thank you so much for coming out. Really, tell your neighbors, come out. This is just a great way to know what's going on in your community and to make a difference. I have just been amazed at what we've been able to accomplish as a community. Just by getting together, knowing what the concerns are, knowing who to go to in the city to talk to about it, getting together with our city council representatives, and we can make a difference in our communities and make them even better. Thank you so much for being here. Come next time, October.
Yes, October 19th. Thank you.